I have lost my wife to cancer, my younger brother in an accident in the Bahamas, and my father at an elderly age. 5 people within 4 years' time. And going a little further up into my mystical experience with the Lord, I share with you what the Lord told me about this particular event in my life. He says, humanity, we are so hard of heart that someone has to die very close to us in order for us to feel the pain of death, because we can sit at home and watch TV and see the whole world being blown up in pieces, and we get impressed, but we don't feel the pain. So he says, when a relative dies, we have a grace, because we have the opportunity to reflect upon our own death indirectly, and also upon our relationship with God. So it is actually a grace. Even the black sheep of the family makes it to his mother's funeral and has the opportunity to make peace with brothers and sisters that probably hurt during the whole life. And everybody receives a different grace. And because we forget we're going to die too. So when we see a loved one in a casket, we say, oh, I am going to. You know, it's a reality. So, but in my case, I didn't receive any graces, any blessings, because I believed in reincarnation. So I was amputated from the Christian grace of knowledge that we only live once in the flesh. So this was a tragedy, because I was so contaminated with all this nonsense. And then I thought all my relatives reincarnated, so I despised them. So I had no relationship with them. I lost this beautiful truth in Christ, that we are one, a family, and we don't die, we go on. God gave us the life through Christ. And then I lost that. So that was tragic, very tragic. And I went back to California, and a year later I came back to Colombia to spend Christmas with my sisters. One of my sisters thought she was next to die. You see, someone was dying in my family within 6-7 months apart in the last 4 years. So we were all looking around to see who was next. Everybody was suspicious. If someone had a tough cough, that was next. So she took the pic. She said she was next because she was very ill. So she asked me to go to church with her and pray the Baby Jesus Novena, which is a great devotion in Colombia. And it used to be a great devotion in the Catholic Church everywhere, but it just died out. In Colombia, they still have that devotion. I know in Philippines they have it, and some other countries. It's a beautiful devotion. I actually promote it throughout the countries I travel, because it brings the family together, the children, the family, to praise the baby. The baby is not there in the manger until the day of the 24th, but the novena begins on the 16th and ends the day he's born. So that day, that last day of the novena, the baby Jesus is placed there in the manger, and then you can bring the children to sing along every night. So it's a beautiful, beautiful devotion. I went there to church with my sister, but I didn't believe a thing about the church, about the baby Jesus, about anything. I was completely syncretized spiritually, so I couldn't care less about it. So I went there just to give company to my sister. And then the priest introduced the devotion, and he said, "He who prays the novena with devotion will be granted a grace by the baby Jesus." So I said to myself, whoa, this is a great opportunity. Maybe I get something out of this child, you know? So I asked my sister, how miraculous is the baby? So she gave me all these testimonies about the miracles of the baby Jesus. So I said, sounds good to me. So I made a deal. I said, I'm going to ask the baby Jesus to change my life. But I wasn't asking the baby Jesus for the change of life that you're looking at right now. I had a very different plan. And I asked the baby Jesus. I didn't tell that to my sister. It was between the baby Jesus and me. I asked him to give me the opportunity to retire with a lot of money and to go to this island in Indonesia that I have seen, and to be able to live there for the rest of my life like a king with at least 3 women. And that was my pagan wish that I was asking from the baby Jesus. I was so lost, so completely lost in my life, that's what I was asking from God. Imagine. So, but I didn't tell my sister. And my sister used to tell me during the novenas, she said, do it with a lot of faith. So I told her, you bet, you bet. I was sure the baby Jesus was going to grant me that. And he did answer the prayer, but his way. So on Christmas Day, I went to my hometown, which is an hour away. and visited friends and relatives. And at midnight, I was driving in a Land Cruiser with one of my nephews into a ranch of one of my uncles to spend the night. It was midnight, and this is the 25th of December. I had finished the novena the night before, and as I approached the gate, it was closed, so I told my nephew to step out and open it. As he stepped out of the car, 6 guys jumped out of the woods, masked and heavily armed, and took me captured, me and my nephew. They tied my hands in the back, covered me up. They did the same to my nephew and threw us in the back of the car. And the 6 guys got in my car and drove off town with us very fast. When we were outside town, they stopped and got me out of the car, 4 of them. 2 of them took off with my nephew in the car. I found out long after that they have abandoned my nephew that same night in a sugarcane plantation with my car. They didn't do anything to him. But me, they kept me at the road. They wrapped around my waist the rope like the ones they use for the cattle. And one of them was pulling from the front, another one from the back, and they led me through the woods all night without saying a word to me. I was petrified because I didn't know what was happening. I thought they were going to shoot me. They robbed my car. They killed my nephew. All kinds of things were coming to my mind, but I didn't dare to ask a question. So I was petrified. I walked all night, and at sunrise, they threw me inside what appeared to be a house somewhere in the woods. I couldn't see, and they locked the door. They left me there all day, the 26th of December. This is 97. Then I didn't dare to do anything because I was so petrified with these criminals. I didn't dare to move. I was still tied up and covered up. At night, they came back and got me to the road and threw me in the back of a car. And I could hear them talking about the police and the army looking for me everywhere. So they wanted to internate me deeper into the woods to hide me. And they did. They drove for a long time. And then they got me out of the car to walk for a long, long time. I realized I was in the jungle already because the humidity was intense and the sounds were not anymore the urban birds. They were the serious sounds in the jungle. So that was really scary walk. And not a word was being said by them. They were whispering among them, but no information. So after a long walk, they uncovered me to show me the place where they were going to hide me. And there was in front of me, slightly above the ground, like in a little hill, what appeared to have been a house. But all it was left of it was the frame because the rest had been eaten up by the jungle. It was more like a cave. So they covered me up again and walked me on the side of the hill and threw me inside that cave. When I fell in there, I noticed an amazing flying around me. So I noticed it was filled with bats. And also on the ground, it was filled with the bats' excrement. And from that excrement, all kind of bugs were coming and through my clothes and biting me everywhere. And I could probably give you a million horror stories about this cave and about the whole kidnapping story. But the reason why I brought you to this cave is because in this cave, the Lord called me. I tell him today, why didn't you call me in California in a freeway? But the Lord has a sense of humor. And I'm sure that was the only way to call my attention. So I was there in that cave. The first 2 days, they will come up once a day to offer me something to eat. But I will not eat because I tell you, all I wanted was to die. And I'm sure that if you put yourself in my shoes for 1 second in that cave, you want to die too. It's so horrifying.